So I've had a epiphany, not today, really in the past, but it's something that's never escaped me. And that is that being present to the moment, which is very popular in the media today. So, Eckhart Tolle, wrote a book called The Power of Now, and he was on Oprah, and you hear a lot of celebrities and, spiritually enlightened people talk about being present in the moment. But being present to the moment, this is the epiphany, really. It's not really any innovative thought. It's just, my own realization, is the number one state of being for any situation in life. That in all things, success and the solution first comes with being present to the moment. And let me explain. So, you see it in anything. So any sport, whether it's basketball, baseball, skiing, surfing, anything, we're talking about peak level physical performance. So do you have time for thoughts in that situation? No. Do you have time to premeditate a technique? So, some dude's kicking a soccer ball down the field and you're the goalie and you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to block over here once he comes down. No, you don't have time for that. What you do is you respond in real time to whatever the threat is, right? So how do you do that if you're stuck up here? Like professional athletes spend money on therapists and sports psychologists to try to figure out how to flush out their thoughts, and just so that they can be in the fucking zone. Okay? So do you see the utility? Do you see the universal application of this same principle to anything in life? Do you get it? So I'll give you another example. So there was a samurai back in the day. His name was Musashi, and he was famous for duels, right? So we're talking about two grown men facing off with a big, long, arced sword that's super sharp, that's built to slash somebody's head off, right? So there's different positions that you can set up in, with the sword. And so they're facing off, and they come together, and one guy strikes, and then maybe the other guy counterattacks. Okay, and so this guy survived, tons and tons of these fights. I don't know how many, but they asked him what's your secret? And what he said was, hey, I don't premeditate a technique. All I do is just flush my thoughts out, and I'm present to the moment. And then, he's not using these phrases, but this is what he's saying. And then I just react as necessary in the moment. That's what he said. So he's just being real. He's just being connected to what's going on. Okay, and that was his secret. So that's the same thing as sports performance. Okay? So understand that pure reality is what's happening out here. Do you get it? So what's out here is pure. But what we do with our brain is we translate it into what we can understand internally in our own little consciousness, our own little identity. So our brain is taking what's out here and translating it into some shit that's relevant for this. Okay? And that is an inefficient translation, because what's real is just out here. But it's impossible to just take this and then fucking just put it in here directly, right? We have to translate it into memories and concepts and language and thoughts. And all of this is inefficient. It's like a downgrade of quality. So how you save a file to your computer, and every time you save that file, the quality lessens just a little bit. And a lot of photographers will understand this, right? They understand that there's a corruption of the file over time. And so it's the same thing. Our memories get worse over time, and this is what's going on, right? So you have to understand, okay? Take a moment to get this, that what's out here is what's pure, and it's real, okay? But what's in here is a lesser version of that. It's this extra layer of subjectivity that we add on top of reality for purposes of operating out in the world. It's necessary, but it's not exactly accurate. So the more that we can separate ourselves from thoughts and the more that we can just basically flush out our thoughts, the more effective we are in the world. Because what we're trying to do is operate out here in this thing, and we're trying to like do shit in real time, you know? And so we don't always need what's going on up here. Sometimes we do, you know, if we're trying to solve a math problem or whatever, maybe we're being creative or writing a story or whatever. But most of the time we don't need that. So like in sports, it's evident in the samurai duels, right? I don't think anybody's going to do that, but you know, it helps if you're going to bust out your sword, right? And it's relevant in every aspect of life is what I'm saying. So this is the epiphany that I've had in the past, and I think it's not anything, you know, totally smart. It's like most people probably understand this. But so dating and relationships, okay? So ideally, if you've listened to my videos, or if you've just done what I think anybody should do, is like you've gone after that person that you want to be around. Okay, so once you've done that, now you want to get to know that person. So you want to know like what's their hopes, what's their dreams, what's their fears, what are their quirks, what drives them, what inspires them, like who are they at the deepest core level, like what is this person, right? You want to get to know everything. And how do you do that if you can't separate yourself out of the equation? You quiet the noise, okay? And that you spend that time to just simply connect to them from the heart. Okay, so you know, this is a challenge for me because like a lot of times like I'm like predisposition to be anxious and to just like go. And so like if there's a spectrum of focus, okay, over here is the future and over here is the past, and right in the middle is being present. Well, wherever you're focused at, either you'll be depressed or anxious unless you're present to the moment. And so I have this predisposition to almost be anxious. Like in the past, it was depressed, and I figured out how to kind of conquer that through focus. But in the everyday bustle of just trying to go, like a lot of times I'm anxious. But for the purpose of doing this video, like I can slow down. Okay, so this is the discipline that we're talking about right now. You slow down. You have less going on up here. So everything I've said in this video, by the way, has been in the moment. I did shoot this video, like I did like a first try, okay? So I did say a lot of the same stuff before, but I'm not like creating it up here and then like putting it out up here. It's like it's all happening, okay? And so the discipline that we're talking about right now is just taking a second, okay, flushing out whatever's going on up here. Maybe you breathe, and you're taking a second to feel the energy in the room. Okay? So you feel that, and so you can feel it here. And so right now in this room, I hear the hum of my refrigerator. I hear some like trucks driving out in the distance. Earlier I could hear crickets outside. I can't hear them right now. But like it's the stillness of the night right now. It's like maybe midnight or something like that. I can tell my roommate's in the house. Well, I can't tell right now, but I know she's in the house, and then she's got dogs or whatever. But it's quiet, and I can feel like sort of this present energy, okay? So you take a second and you connect like that. That's a discipline. And you can use that in every aspect of your life. So in relationships, you're connecting to somebody. If you're in sales, you have a product, and that product has 20 features. It has all this cool shit about it. But you're trying to sell, so you're listening to the client, and you're finding out what is it that they care about. So you have 20 features, but maybe only one benefit that they actually care about, and that's what you sell them on. But you can't do that unless you listen. And you listen from a place of not entertaining what's going on up here. So if you look at most conversations, it's like somebody talks, and while that other person is supposed to be listening, really what they're doing is they're entertaining this shit, and then they talk again. And then that other person entertains this shit, and then they talk again. But how beautiful is it when you meet somebody and you can tell that they're not doing that, which is rare because we're all doing this, and they're really just listening, and they actually took that moment to connect to you. So do you see the utility? It's like, this is the number one discipline in all of life, like no matter what it is that you're doing. So it's applicable from sports all the way to just talking to somebody, you know? And so obviously we just talked about the usefulness in dating relationships, but it just has this universal application. Now, so there's lots of different ways that you can get present to the moment. Okay, so meditation. So the way that I do it is, I've got a couple different methods. So one is to just like sit still and your eyes are open, and what you're doing is you're breathing and you count your breaths, and the second that you notice that you have a thought, you start over in the count. So a lot of times you can't even get past like 3. And what's funny is you might not even know that you have a thought. Like sometimes you're just so deep in your thoughts, like you don't even realize that you're thinking until like you've counted like 10 numbers past, even the time that you started thinking. And this is how out of it we can get. So imagine being in a fucking sports game, or imagine being in a conversation like a critical business meeting, and all of a sudden you're 10 seconds behind because you're lost in your thoughts. How fucking ineffective are you in the world because you're doing that? So you get into this meditation, and you get into this meditation, and you count your breaths, and you start over every time that you have a new thought. Okay, and so the more aware that you become, you'll notice your thoughts quicker. Okay, but you'll still be starting over and over and over again until you can get to this place of like truly being empty up here. Okay, so that's one method. So a lot of times, so I'm notorious for skipping gym days at the gym. So like I go to the MMA gym, go to jiu-jitsu, and so anytime I haven't been to jiu-jitsu like in a week or something, maybe 2 weeks or whatever, going back into this environment of the MMA gym can sometimes cause anxiety for me, because like it's a very high performance environment. There's a lot of high caliber people there, a lot of like big performers there, loud personalities, and it's just like, it's a busy place, okay? And there's bad motherfuckers there, and you're gonna have to go train with them too. And so it's not that like I'm consciously worrying about this shit, but it's going on in the back of my head, right? My brain understands what I'm about to go walk into. So I'll start to feel anxiety as I drive to the gym. So one method for lessening this, or getting present to the moment actually, because the only way that you can be anxious is if your thoughts are in the future. So if you get present, you actually Now listen, this is huge. I didn't understand this till way late in life. If you can get present to the moment, you escape depression and anxiety. You'll need medication, most likely. Diet plays in, there's a lot of shit that goes into it. But if you can just harness your focus to the present moment, you cannot be depressed and you cannot be anxious. But so I'm on the way to the gym, and I'm feeling anxious. So the one way a method that I use to lessen it is like this just labeling system. So what you do is like I'm driving down the road, hands on the steering wheel. I pass a tree and I say green tree in my head, and then I pass a silver car, and so I do a little thought that says silver car, and I notice my hand on the steering wheel, and all of a sudden I say hand on leather steering wheel. And then, whatever. So just whatever's like going on in real time, you label it in the brain, and it's forcing your thoughts to sync up to real time. And that's one way of getting present to the moment also. So there's lots of different shit that you can do, right? This is what everybody's doing when they're doing their sport of choice. Like if you're into skateboarding, that feeling that you get as you're like, doing the half pipe or whatever the fuck that you do, right? Like you're escaping your thoughts because you're so enmeshed in whatever it is, the activity that it is that you love to do, right? So everybody's aiming for this, right? But there's actually ways that you can get the same feeling without having to skateboard necessarily, or without doing whatever it is that you love to do. And, this is so key because everybody's trying to get past the moment. Well, okay, let me backtrack for a second. Okay, so we just talked about all different ways that you can get into the moment and what the necessity of that is. So that's fucking huge. But a whole nother point is, so there's other shit that goes into this, because sometimes you don't even want to be present to the moment. Okay, like let's say you've been eating like shit, and now all of a sudden your body's chemically out of whack, and you're depressed because you ate a bunch of fucking bread and gluten or whatever, and now you can feel the depression like in here. And you can feel the depression in here, the bad chemicals, and it's like you're not happy. So you don't want to be present to the moment. Because if you did, all you'd be doing is feeling pain and then spreading that pain to everybody that you talk to throughout the day. So you don't want to be fucking present. So you sweep it under the rug, and then you start watching TV, and then maybe you eat more bad food, which keeps you good for like another half hour. And then you just keep that cycle up, right? So there's so many more disciplines that go into making it easier to get present to the moment, like drinking water, getting sleep, eating right, and all this kind of stuff, to make it to where you want to be present in the moment. So let's say I'm like fat and out of shape. Now, some bigger people or whatever, they're totally happy, they live a joyous life or whatever, and they don't have any problem with this. But for me, if my body image is off, it's like you don't even want to connect to that. But when you're really in shape and you're feeling good, it's like you're happy to spread that good energy to everybody else, because like you're already feeling good. And it's like, hey, I want to be present in my body because it's good, it feels good, and it looks good, right? So life is like this holistic approach, right? You can't just like tunnel vision on one area of life. Like you got to fucking attack all this shit so that you can get into this peak state of living. And it's really that tough, It really requires a lot of effort, and I'm struggling with it, Everybody's struggling with it. But, so it's more than just directly focusing on how to get in the moment. You got to make it easier, you got to work in all these different things. But there are methods for getting present in the moment. Back to not wanting to be present in the moment. What do people do? They play video games, they watch TV, they watch movies, they eat badly, they do drugs and alcohol, so people have sex to get out of it. There's all these fucking things that people do to get out of it, right? So it just goes to show, don't create the pain to begin with. Like, so maybe it's coming from childhood trauma, okay, right? So the solution there is therapy. Maybe it's coming from bad eating habits, which means you have to detox yourself to get to a place where you don't need the food just to heal the bad feeling that you have from eating the other food, right? So there's for every reason that you have pain, there is some kind of solution that you can put into place, and then just observe the fact that you're running from something and trying to medicate through all these different ways. This is what everybody's going through. You see, like what's going on in society is that everybody's running from being present in the moment. Some of it has to do with the fact that, I guess I'm going into the fucking deep end, but if you're watching this far, this makes sense. So some of it has to do with the fact that we have our ego, which is the story that we built up here about ourselves and about reality. And it's that inefficient translation. It's sort of fake. And so we kind of hide from, the truth, and in which we find the truth in being present, so that we don't dismantle the ego. So that's one thing. But everybody's hiding from the present moment. And yet, it's the one thing that can make us more effective in our lives than anything else. Okay? So, I mean it. You talk about any problem, any insight that you have, like anything of value, and I can tell you about how being present in the moment is like the key ingredient to the solution and to the innovation and to all the good shit in the world. So this is a public service announcement to myself, which is like get back on my meditation discipline, because I've let it slip. Anytime I have a busy day, it's one of the first things to go, because it's so fucking boring to sit there, and try to do this. So it's a public service announcement to myself. I hope other people take this up. Yoga is a great way to get into your body, like out of your head and into your body. I've never tried yoga, but I get what it's about. And so I think that hand in hand, like meditation, yoga, and then even just doing whatever your recreations are. These are ways to get out of up here. So I'm just trying to champion that in this video, but also to say, to bring this back to dating and relationships, you know, cultivate the discipline of getting present to the moment, connecting to the greater truth of reality, and then bring that energy to your partner and even to the people that you're trying to date, so that you can display your really fucking cool personality in the dating world, and that you can have that deep heart connection with your chosen partner later on.